20 years of failed relationships. This is exactly what happened to one of my subscribers. And in today's video, I have his case study to share with all of you so that you can learn from the mistakes he made. 44-year-old man from Australia, millionaire, successful, but not in his relationships. He details everything that's happened over the last 20 years so that all of you can really learn from where he went wrong and make better choices in your own life. Galatians 6 verse 7 in the Bible tells us, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." You are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. With that said, let's begin. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Christian. This is Relearning Relationships, where I teach men to master relationships righteously. This is going to be a long case study, so strap in. There is a lot of wisdom, nuggets, and gems that we can pick apart from his life experience that we can all benefit from. What I also like is that he's written everything in a very clear and detailed manner. For those of you who want to write me an email about like a success story or a bad one like this, make sure you do avoid emotional writing. Everything must be concise and clear. Makes it easier for me. With that said, let's begin. So I'm going to keep his name private and refer to him as Jimmy. And that's it. So he says, "Greetings from Australia, another monkey branching victim. Hi Christian, I thought I would touch base as about 4 months ago I realized my girlfriend, now ex of 4 years, was essentially lining up a replacement as things between us had been rocky. For some time and communication between us has not been great, but I will admit I've been a big part in this. I'm 44 and I've had around 5 relationships since the age of 16, and I have never been monkey branched, and I have to say, it's the most insidious thing to happen to me in my life. Someone I brought into my inner circle betrayed me and discarded me like I was a piece of trash. It has been very hard to get over and move on, but I found your material after doing research, and I have to say, your explanations as to why it happens has helped me depersonalize the experience and realize that even if I was the perfect boyfriend/partner, the chances of this happening would still have been there. It would have just taken time. Exactly. If you get involved with a woman that's immoral, ungodly, or has settled for you, this is always a risk. Honorable women do not cheat. Honorable men do not cheat either." He says, "I will summarize the events as it may actually be cathartic for me to do so. And as you will see, the red flags were there from the start, but I ignored them. It's always that way." Someone's been paying attention. But you know what? It takes a lot of courage for you to go into detail and share everything with everyone, because there is a lot of young men and women who watch Relearning Relationships that can learn from your mistakes. And this is where most people go wrong in relationships, especially men. Most guys will focus on their career, their business, even their health at the gym, and that's what they focus on, but they neglect relationships. Do relationships later in life. Wrong. There are 3 pillars, right? As a man: health, wealth, and relationships. Your health you can always sort out. Your wealth builds up over time, but relationships, that's one you cannot afford to really mess up in. It carries more weight if it goes bad. The Bible tells us in Genesis 2:18, it's not good that a man should be alone. God said, "I will make a helper suitable for him." With Adam and Eve, the blueprint is the same. All men need a good woman by their side. The sooner you do it, and the younger, with the right foundation, it works. That's what you need. Don't neglect that. For a lot of you guys who are single, you want to grind, build up your life, and you're young, get a good woman by your side. Do not neglect that area of your life. She will magnify, she will improve everything. She's going to make your life easier. And you get to see who she really is, because she's with you as you build yourself up. Don't neglect that. So let's start with a background on him. So he said, "I'm 44 years of age. I had a difficult childhood with emotionally absent parents and a possible narcissistic father and borderline mother. Like, isn't that cute? Well, you don't get to choose your parents, but you do get to decide how you respond and learn from that experience. You can be like them, or you can be the opposite. I don't recall getting hugs and kisses or any emotional support as a child. We never discussed emotions, needs, wants, or desires at all. My psychologist says that I subjugate my needs, so there does appear to be some potential codependency/nice guy syndrome issues from this, which has impacted my ability to select partners, but also not knowing how to communicate in relationships, to leading a relationship and also ending bad relationships, which are not meeting my needs or wants or making me happy. My parents divorced when I was about 9. I was 80% raised by a single mother. Time spent with my father was him being a Disney dad. I love that term. For those of you who don't know, a Disney dad he's kind of like, he's there, but he's not. He doesn't teach you anything. He just throws money at you. He was throwing money at entertaining us, but he never set boundaries or taught me and the boys, his siblings, anything masculine. I only learned about masculinity through team sports and from gym. That's usually very surface level. True masculinity is found in the Word of God. You have to embrace manhood, God's way, which is the only way. If it wasn't for that, I would have been screwed. For 25 years in a traditional monogamous relationship, since the age of 16, I've had 5 relationships total, some casual or dating flings in between, and I've had minimal time on my own. So again, for those of you who are single or you've just gotten into a relationship, a lot of men think that providing is just financial. Men, it's more than that. Lead, protect, and provide, they're all interconnected. They work together. Providing is not just putting food on the table, paying the bills when you have a wife and kids, treating your family with, luxuries and accessories from time to time. It's about providing strength to the family. You provide security and safety with your integrity. You instruct your wife, you teach your kids, you keep them safe. You provide that ambience at the home because you are the head of it. That goes beyond paying bills. That comes from your values, from your heart. Are you making sure they're all walking in truth? Or are you sitting there silently when your kids misbehave? Or they do immoral things? Your wife and kids should be able to come to you with their problems and issues. You are the rock, you are the mountain. You make them feel safe and protected. If you shut down from your spouse, your children, you don't communicate, you don't share anything, but you think, I'm paying for everything, so I'm the man. It's beyond that. You have to be looking well to the ways of your household. You've got to have your values screwed on. And that's what his father didn't teach him, because his dad was just paying for everything, never taught him anything about masculinity. And if boys are not taught, then as they become adults, they don't know how. This is why we see so many young men today who grow up in dysfunctional or broken homes with weak or emotionally absent fathers. And what happens? These boys are looking for manhood outside, and they're being misled by immoral or degenerate men because they don't know the right blueprint. And the right blueprint is found in Christ. That's the example of manhood, right? That we should all follow as men. And the problem with this is that because most boys are not taught how to be men, they stay as teenagers. They stay as emotional children throughout their entire life. This is why we see 30, 40, 50-year-old grown men that are cowards, that are immature, that are weak, that don't have any integrity. Every decision is emotional because they were not taught how to be men, how to be righteous and honorable. That's why it's important to know. So that's what's happened to him. And as we go through the email now, we're really going to see how that affected him. My initial 5 years of the relationship was with my high school sweetheart. And it was probably my best relationship, and we started as friends and then became intimate, and she had great parents and a family structure. I'm now realizing how important the family structure is. Having a good mother and father as an influence is so important. Exactly. But even if you don't have that, do not be ashamed, do not victimize yourself, educate yourself. Reach out in your community to those who have that structure, or learn from those who will. Okay? It's not the end of the world. You don't get to choose mom and dad. So I left that relationship at 21. So this is his first relationship he had from 16 to 21. And I felt I was too young to settle down, and I started to date with lust as my only compass. Big mistake. I purely selected women based on looks and superficial characteristics with an aim to get them into bed. There's nothing wrong with choosing a beautiful woman, and you should want her to be beautiful, which is chemistry, but you also need compatibility. The alignment of values, belief system, and lifestyle, so you can get along and bond with each other. You know, the chemistry, the physical, ties it all together with intimacy and passion, right? But you need both ingredients to bake that cake. So you leave that relationship, and now you start being lustful. And this is what we see most young men and women are told today. Don't get married, you're too young. Don't settle down, you're young. Big mistake. This is the first culture in human history in the West that's doing this. Since the beginning of time, men and women have been getting married young or being in relationships together from an early age. They bond. You grow old together. You need each other. That's life. That's beautiful. That's what you need. And now we have a lot of lonely men and women that are told, don't do that. Do that in your 30s. Do that in your 40s. Waste away your 20s sleeping around or being single, being independent. And then that becomes the way you operate. And then when you decide to bond with someone, you have to unlearn how to be by yourself. And there's usually lots of wounds that come with that. This is what it says in scripture. It's not good that a man would be alone, as I mentioned before in Genesis 2:18. It's not good that you should be alone as a man, even as a woman, because men and women need each other. And the longer you stay single, if you don't have self-control or a moral compass, you're getting led astray by your feelings, like Jimmy over here. 21, smart, good-looking guy. You could have found a good woman in your 20s and been okay, but you didn't. This is what we're all taught. I feel too young to settle down. But you reap what you sow. So I purely selected women based on looks and to get them into bed. This worked well as I was tall, 6'4", and in shape. So this became my relationship model. Big mistake. We're not supposed to try out different people. Sex is sacred and intimate. It's meant to be shared with the one you grow old with, your wife. It's bonding, it's powerful. This isn't something you just give out to anyone. But of course you didn't know any better. At the same time, I was introduced to hardcore pornography by a work colleague. Combining the lust-filled dating approach and porn, this set me up for massive issues for the next 20 years. My next relationship was for 5 years, off and on. She was good looking and the sex was good, but she had issues with alcohol. We had very little in common, and at the time, not much connection and compatibility. I stayed in it for years purely as I thought maybe with more time invested, things would develop in terms of intimacy and emotional connection. It didn't. Yeah, you either have those ingredients from the beginning or you don't. We broke up, she went to the UK to live, and 6 months later I decided to move to the UK as well to travel and work, and then we reconciled. The drinking issues returned. We had a physical fight and I left for good. Not good. She called me 6 months later and admitted she had a problem and joined an Alcohol Anonymous program. At least she got help. Then the next girlfriend. The next one I met when I was in a London nightclub. This is already a red flag. She ended up being from Lithuania, an Eastern European porn connection. Again, my focus was on looks, and she ended up moving in with me after a few weeks. That's not looking good. And she had some mysterious issues with her apartment. I didn't think much about it and why this was a big mistake. Anyways, we rubbed along together for 10 years. You're with someone for 10 years and you don't gauge where it's heading. This is what most people do, unfortunately. You think this is how a relationship is and it just kind of happens. You show me anyone successful. You show me happy, intimate relationships. You show me inventions, products or services that make people's lives better, that are random accidents. Doesn't happen. Good things come when you build them effectively. It's precise, it's planned out, it's detailed, and it has meaning behind it. A cake doesn't bake itself by accident, does it? A good relationship doesn't just randomly happen. There's effort put in. 10 years wasted. Guys, be mindful of this. As we robbed along together for 10 years, I now realize that we never had a single fight, but we also never had one intelligent conversation about our wants, needs, desires, or goals. I made a video about this a few weeks back, 10 questions to ask before a first date to assess compatibility. I'll link it at the end and I recommend you guys give it a watch afterwards. This is what I've applied personally in my life and it's worked with the woman I'm with. He wasted 10 years of his life because they never spoke about where they're heading. Do you want marriage? Do you want kids? Do you want family? They don't. They're just using each other for sex. But you can sit there on a first conversation with a woman on the call. You don't even have to go on a date with her yet and ask her very specific questions related to what she wants and who she is and why. And you can kind of assess what she's like. And then you can decide based on that. One conversation and you save 10 years of your life. Very simple. Isn't it amazing how open, genuine communication solves a lot of problems? Instead, you've got grown men and women playing mind games with each other, being too afraid to be truthful. You can all learn from this. 10 years, a decade wasted. Never had a single conversation about needs, wants, and desires. There you go. So the whole relationship just drifted along, and I was not happy for at least the last 5 years. I never raised these concerns as I just thought that's how a long-term relationship was after about 5 years. Wrong. A relationship should actually be getting better progressively. As the weeks and months transition into years, technically speaking, if there's mutual chemistry and compatibility, there should be more love, more passion, deeper communication, more yearning to spend quality time. Love is playful and fun. You're both making an effort. You water it every day. That's love. That's a real relationship. If your relationship over time is less communication, less passion, more problems, and it's dipping, either there was red flags from the get-go, incompatibility, like a chemistry that you can't really change, or one of you got comfortable, made mistakes, and you shut down you or your partner, which you just need to communicate, open up more, and bring everything back to the beginning. A lot of men have a good woman in their life, but they stop dating her. And a woman knows if you love her, you will always make an effort. You court her, you romance her, you create fun experiences for the both of you. But more importantly, your presence is what she values. You're masculine, you're calm, she feels good around you. You have to always be that man and you can't fake it. That's why you want to pursue righteousness, follow God's blueprint for your life so that you really become an honorable man that's trustworthy. Because trust is the currency of intimacy. If there's more trust, intimacy becomes more valuable. It means more. And I'm not just talking about sex and being close physically. I'm talking about being open and vulnerable emotionally. You and your wife, you and your girlfriend, you guys are open. You talk about everything. You can express yourselves freely. That's what you need for a relationship. And you have to do that daily. The less trust there is, it lowers the worth and the value of the intimacy, and the doors remain shut. And the relationship goes to shit. And that's on you. And this is what most people do. So they just went along. I never raised these concerns. This is how I thought a relationship was. No, it's not. Similar to the first relationship, there was chemistry, but no compatibility. This is the story of the last 20 years of my life. I also dated way down below my station here. She barely worked or provided any financial input to the relationship. It annoyed me, but again, I didn't raise any concerns. Well, if she's your girlfriend, there's nothing wrong with you slowly providing and taking care of her. Obviously, if you're not husband or wife, it's not your duty to provide fully or entirely. But at the same time, as a man, you want to take care of your woman. And if you make enough money, which you do, she shouldn't have to do that. Especially if you guys were together for 10 years, you should have married her. But in your experience, probably a good thing you didn't. But for future reference, for the next woman you meet, don't waste time. If she's a good woman and she's honourable, get married, yes, you take care of her. She doesn't need to be out there suffering at the workplace. And you've got good money, so you can offer that to a woman. Because your children, when you do have them, need a mother at home. So it sounds like you were kind of in like a 50-50 relationship where you're splitting gender roles and all the rest. Obviously, you want a woman that's a giver, right? Even if she doesn't make a lot of money, guys, it doesn't matter. But does she cook for you? Does she bake for you? Does she offer to clean? Does she give genuine acts of service? Does she make your life easier? Does she find joy in serving you and nurturing you, right? Does she make you little handmade gifts from time to time? Does she treat you to cute little things? Does she offer to take you out to eat from time to time or split the bill? Is she thankful? Is she receptive? You want to be mindful of these things. Because genuine women, they're not really concerned with your money. They want to be by your side. They love you no matter what. Yeah, if you're a deadbeat and you don't take care of yourself at all, they're going to be scared to be with you. But you get the point. I left this relationship badly because I didn't know how to communicate with her and basically abandoned her after 10 years. One of my biggest regrets in life, and she deserved better. I vowed to make sure I communicate more assertively in the future, but this has given me mixed results, to say the least. Well, this is what happens, guys, when you don't understand relationships. He has a knowledge gap, 44 years old. Because age isn't going to make you wiser. If all you've done is make foolish mistakes, you're going to be a fool. Business-wise, career-wise, this guy's successful. Most men end up doing that anyways. But it's just in your relationships. And there is no point you making good money, good investments, good passive income, great career, great business, and then you come home to a woman that doesn't love or respect you. Your kids are out of control. Or worse, you desire those things and you have no one in your life. A big mistake I see a lot of men make is they have this independent mindset of, I'm going to build up my wealth for me. Wrong. You should be thinking, I'm doing this for my future wife and children. For the ladies listening, same thing. Whatever you're doing in your life, you're single, consider, I'm going to keep my dignity. I'm going to prepare myself to be a good woman for my future husband and children. Christ said, always think of yourself lowly, be humble and exalt others. Think others highly. Think of them highly. Love others. Where everyone in this generation is so obsessed with self, me, self-love. Everybody loves themselves to a certain degree. Yes, there are people who have self-esteem issues and they don't know how to love themselves entirely, absolutely. But for most people, once they get that sorted out, then they become obsessed and it's me. Wrong. You need to be giving. You need to be selfless and outward with your actions. And a lot of men are prideful. They struggle with that. Everything you do for your future family. If you have one, for them. Very simple. Guys get into a relationship, it's me. No. Think more of her. As the woman, for the ladies listening, you should think more of your man and his needs than yours. If he's an honorable man, he'll take care of them. And you both keep giving to each other continually. Very simple. Whenever you start holding back, being fearful in a relationship, it's because you're thinking more about yourself, not about them. Look back at how a relationship, when it starts, right? There's all this passion, there's all this joy. Man or woman, everybody's making the best effort. You care about them. You want to show them daily how much they mean to you. You have to do that every day. And when you do that, you think of them, you put them first. That's what I want you men to start doing with a woman. That's how you love her. It's selfless, it's sacrificial. The Bible tells us, as Christ sacrificed himself for the church, for us, and gave his life up for us, as men, we should do the same for our women. We should be sacrificial. We should do it all for them. And when you do, that right woman, she'll submit to you. She'll open up her heart and she will love you. She will nurture you. You want the best relationship, you've got to be the best man you can be. So, continuing on with the email, he says, I returned to Australia in 2016. I dated a Syrian-born engineer. Okay, so you're mixing over here. Again, very attractive, he says, but this time she was at least my equal career-wise. Again, you were raised by a single mum. You don't understand traditional family values or actual gender roles. And again, you're splitting things 50-50, which is another reason why all your relationships has failed. It doesn't matter if she's your equal career-wise. In fact, I would even see this as a red flag, because there is not one single woman on this earth that became a boss babe by being a feminine woman. She had to be very masculine to do this. And we often hear that meme, oh, men are so scared of a strong, independent woman. No, they're not. Men are turned off by strong, independent women because men don't care about a woman's success. Financially speaking, real men, we want to take care of our woman. We want to pay for everything. We want to lead her and support her and provide for her, right? We just want her to be by our side and look up to us, admire us, respect us, submit to us, and we'll take care of the rest, right? We give the house, she makes it to a home. Very simple. Stay away from career-oriented women. There's nothing wrong with a woman working because she's single and she has no choice. But when she gets married and you have kids, she should be willing to give that up if you can take care of her financially and live within your means and give your children a good life. Of course, take care of you. Remember, you're a husband before you're a father, and she should know that she's a wife before she's a mother. Wife and husband come first. That's who you make a sacred oath to become one flesh with, it says in the Bible, in Genesis 2:24. You don't become one flesh with your kids. You join together with your spouse. That is the most important person in your life. Don't ever forget that. So be very careful with all these, I need to find a woman as equal career-wise. No, you don't. Of course, you don't want a woman that's stupid, who's a gold digger, who's selfish. It's a good sign that she's hardworking. But you want to be careful. She's made herself to be very independent and masculine in doing so. And you're going to see exactly what I mean as we go through with this. I would end up calling her out on behaviors, like having male friends, and trying to set clear boundaries. And this triggered rage outbursts and lots of fighting. So you found her you're equal career-wise, you're a millionaire, she's probably very successful too, and look at what's happening. Very masculine, she's got a very hard personality, right? Very tough, very outward. And obviously, by her having to build up her career, she's had to put on a masculine mask when she goes out there into the world. So that's really hardened her up. She's not herself. She doesn't know how to relax and be a woman. So that's really gonna hurt her heart a lot, unfortunately. I was convinced she had BPD and she also had HPV. What a coinkydink. She told me before we slept together, but instead of being a deal breaker and being concerned for my own health, I was so thirsty, needy for a relationship that after my previous one had failed, that I didn't really think much about it and had sex with her unprotected. Big mistake. I'm lucky I didn't get it, and now I can't believe how stupid I was. From what I can tell, she got it from promiscuous sex after her marriage breakdown. Well, she obviously doesn't value marriage because she's being promiscuous afterwards and she went off the rails. Why are you with her then? At the end of the day, cultural differences and constant arguing brought this to an end after about 9 months. That's why I don't do any of that race mixing. I'm European. My woman, she's European. We both have the same culture, same values. It just makes things easier. You can relate more. For compatibility, it's going to make things better. There are exceptions where it works out, but generally speaking, it doesn't. There's a lot of cases like that. People with very different cultural differences cannot relate on a fundamental level. Careful with that. My communication was improving and I was starting to trigger women who were behaving inappropriately, and I didn't like to be called out on it. No. So his communication was improving and he would trigger women who behaved inappropriately. They didn't like to be called out on it. Okay. Misinput. Well, you definitely learned your lesson there. My next relationship occurred off the back of the last one, where I was on the rebound, basically. So you didn't heal from this Syrian woman. And he says I was in a scarcity mindset, had not met anyone decent in Brisbane for about 6 months. I got family there. I met, let's call the ex Jessica. This is the big one now. It's when it gets serious, to protect her identity. So I met Jessica literally as I was about to delete the dating apps and see a dating agency. I'd given up hope of finding a better person who could be a life partner, but I eventually met her in June of 2018. This is his last serious relationship. See, a lot of people are so concerned on finding the right partner, but they themselves are not the right partner. It's only harder to find a good woman if you're not a good man. Let that sink in. Because when you are righteous, you can separate and rightly divide a good woman from a bad one. Same thing for the ladies. Ladies, when you are wife material, you can separate guys that are husband material from the jerks and losers and bad men. If you keep ending up with terrible partners, you obviously have something to play in there too. Because usually speaking, intelligent men or women, you make 1 or 2 serious relationship mistakes, you take some time to assess what went wrong, and you try and make better choices moving forward. It doesn't really get any easier than that, but you want to be careful. Okay, so let's give some background on this Jessica. Born in Russia, she was married for about 20 years, and you were with her recently. You don't heal from a 20-year marriage like that. She moved to Australia in May of 2018 and went straight on the dating apps. I came to realize that her father was absent a lot from the home when growing up, and she spent much of her time with her mother, who clearly was emotionally and psychologically abusive towards her and is still today. What a lovely family, right? She was also physically abusive to her as a child. She admitted during one of our last conversations that she had abandonment issues. He said when I met her via Tinder, she told me she had separated from her husband, but they were still married. Whenever you hear something like that, you say, great, been lovely to meet you. Maybe give me a call in a few years once you've healed if I'm still single. And you move on from your life. Do not get involved. They were separated, but they were still married. And she's going right to look for a guy. That's not normal. 20 years. Come on, guys. Come on, Jimmy, you know better than that now. She didn't tell me the full story, though, in that she had moved to Brisbane with her 5-year-old son. As her ex-husband had gone bankrupt, she decided to leave him due to it. So she's obviously a gold digger who's settled to be with the husband. So she was with this guy for 20 years, has a kid with him. For whatever reason, his business or career collapses, and she doesn't stay by his side. What that tells you what sort of woman she is. Her love is conditional. Remember, real women will love you unconditionally for you. These messed up women who settle for you or have serious issues, they don't know how to love. Their love is met on certain terms and conditions. The Bible tells us that's not what love is. Love is patient, love is kind, it's giving. It always trusts, it always hopes. It does not seek to harm. Love does not punish. Love is understanding. And it lasts forever. That's love. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8 tells us this. This woman, she's spelling out what's going to happen to you if you stay with her. She's not giving you all the details, so she's not open and genuine from the beginning. She's holding back. Surprise, surprise. And she leaves this guy. But to survive, she told him she would move to Brisbane with their child, and he would come over once he had sorted out his financial issues in Singapore. Big tax haven over there. She lied to him to get him to pay for her rent in Brisbane. When she met me, she chased me basically. She saw that I drove a nice car. She came over to my home to share some food under the pretense that she needed some adult company and someone to talk to. There wasn't any sex yet, as she seemed to want to do some courting in a more traditional way. She's pretending to be a good girl. She knew I had a nice house and a nice car. She must have decided that I would be a good husband replacement. Yeah, a lot of these women like this, unfortunately, they'll play games like that. But of course, from everything we've learned so far about Jimmy, previously, he struggles with codependency. He wants to people please. He's never had moments where he stood up for himself, discussed his values from the get-go. He's very passive. So he kind of lets things just happen to him. And if you let life just happen to you, this is what happens. Bad people come in and you think, I'll have to take it. No, you're in control of your life. You reap what you sow. You have to take action upon that. God gave you free will. Do better and choose better. But again, continuing on. So without consulting me, she told her ex that she was leaving him. She basically monkey branched to me, swinging from one vine to the next. In retaliation, he stopped financially taking care of her, so he stopped paying, cut her off. And now she had no work or no money, and I got trapped into taking her on as my responsibility. I had very weak boundaries, and I just lost my job, so when you compound all this, I didn't know how to deal with it. Should have been a straight up deal breaker, and I should have never gotten involved with her, given she was still technically married. She was broke and had a 5-year-old. But again, she was a tall, attractive Russian lady, and her femininity sucked me in. She's not feminine at all. There's nothing graceful or honorable about her. She's messed up. Damaged femininity. Like attracts like. I now know that the love bombing phase kicked off earnestly. My new job was in Sydney, so for 3 months in, I was moving down there with her and her son. So now you're playing stepdad, taking care of another man's cum. Big mistake. If you are single and childless and you desire a family, please choose a woman who's also single and childless. Very simple. Don't make it harder by going for someone who's had kids with someone else. Man or woman, and you're single, listen to that. It very rarely ends well. Don't overcomplicate your life. But again, look at what Jimmy did. He's playing stepdad now. Things with the job didn't work out, and by the time I got back to Brisbane in December of 2018, when we were living together, the cracks started to appear. She pretty much had zero communication skills, and anytime I tried to talk to her, she would take it round and round in circles and make it impossible to get my viewpoint across. I took her to counselling sessions, which was a disaster, and the next day we decided it wasn't working. However, due to her entitled attitude to work, because over the last 20 years she was a stay-at-home mum on an allowance that her husband provided, she hadn't gotten a job yet due to me taking pity on her, and I basically allowed her to stay at my house and rent in the downstairs area. We agreed to be friends with benefits but exclusive. Don't give me that crap. You one or the other. As Jesus said, let your yes be yes and no, no. It's one or the other, mate. You're either friends with benefits, which is stupid and immoral, or you're exclusive, monogamous, and committed. Look, I've got coffee here, right? It's not water with a bit of coffee. It's coffee, period. Say, call a spade a spade. In this case, this is black or white. You made it grey because your emotions and your lust was involved in your trauma and sin. Looking back, it was a daft idea. There we go. Anyways, from this point forward, the emotional connection broke down and we had very little in common and nothing to really talk about. I basically checked out. But instead of either, number one, investing in the relationship to try and move it forward, or number two, ending it, I instead entered into a more passive, avoidant role and stopped leading. So their relationship just entered a stasis that didn't go forward or back. There was no communication from that point forward on needs, wants, or goals. And by the third year, I had to go to Sydney for work. I went by myself. I think in some ways to get some space, I actually realized that spending close to 9 months in Sydney in 2021 and only seeing her once, and I think when she came to visit during COVID, and I actually enjoyed the time to myself. I recall being allowed to return to Brisbane when COVID lifted, but just before I came back, she told me she decided to move out and get her own place. She just dropped this on me with no prior discussion. I asked why and got some excuses, but nothing that made much sense. My gut was telling me that this was the end of the relationship, so I checked out pretty much entirely from Christmas onwards. We still caught up and spent more time together, but it was more of a friends with benefits. Well then at this point you don't have a relationship. Remember, the metric is very simple. You either grow closer together or you grow further apart. Men and women who are in love with each other remain close. Physically, emotionally, close. When you're absent from each other, there's an open line of communication. Texting, calling, contacting, communicating. When you're together in person physically, there's passion, there's closeness, there's unity, and there's more communication. And you live together, you have family, you're one together. Biblically speaking, that's how it should be. If you're with someone for a long time and they want to go off and do their own thing, they don't really want to see you anymore, they don't really make that effort to contact you, they kind of disappear or fade away, it's very obvious how they feel about you. People treat you how they feel about you. Be careful with this, guys. We still caught up and spent time together, but yeah, we were friends with benefits. But due to me checking out mentally, I never sat down to confirm what was going on. Another red flag was when she came to visit me in Sydney and told me that she lined up a play date with a Russian guy she'd met in Sydney back when we first met in 2018, and that they both have sons the same age. I had to tell her that I thought this was inappropriate and she needed to cancel it. She's telling you this not out of respect. She's just letting you know what she's doing and what's going on. She's already made a decision. I think she now started to seek attention from other men now. Damaged women do that. A loyal woman only seeks your presence. She's not looking at other men. She's not putting herself in an environment where men could even get close to her. If guys hit on her, she's passive, she's quiet. Or if the guy doesn't stop, she says, leave me alone. She communicates that to you. Loyal people are just loyal. There's no way around it. This woman is not, unfortunately. All of 2022 drifted along with us living separately, and she now realized all the things I'd done for her, which she'd taken for granted. And then now she had to fend for herself, living paycheck to paycheck. She dropped hints about needing a man and wanting a family again, but I was too checked out to listen. Eventually, I was driving to the gym around August of 2022, and I saw her sitting next to a guy at a cafe. I called her and told her we needed to talk. She gave me the crocodile tears of him just being a friend, but I knew it was probably not the case, and she was beginning the same process with him as she did with me back then. Except now she was trying to line up my replacement. But at the end of the day, you checked out too. Right? As you said, you weren't serious about her. Now your ego's hurt because you see her with another guy, even though you've had thoughts for a long time that you should end it. Anyways, she said he was just a friend and we tried to work around it, but eventually she came to me with an ultimatum that I either marry her, give her a family home, that she wanted me to be kinder to her, she wanted a dog, and she alluded to the fact that her love language was physical touch, and I wasn't meeting that need. So after 2018 to 2022, 2023, now she's telling you she needs physical touch. What a good communicator. Look at her track record. Failed marriage for 20 years. Now she's off with another guy, but now she wants to come back to you. This is a waste of time. All of this was dropped on me like a bomb. I told her that after seeing her with that other guy, and also the fact that marriage for me is very risky, given where the relationship has gotten to, and are mostly different financial situations. I'm worth about 2 million, and she's only got 20k saved. I refused her ultimatum and she stormed out. You held your ground for once, well done. I then drive to the gym, and a week later, she's hand in hand with that same guy she said was just a friend. What a coincidence, right? Quite frankly, guys, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband or wife, there is very few exceptions when there is a male to female friend. Unless it's a family friend or maybe a couple you're both friends with. But even then, you have to be very careful. As a man, the only woman you should need is your lady, your girl, your wife. Not other females, not other women. Same thing for a woman. If she's loyal to you, she doesn't need to be bonding or interacting with other men like that. She just needs you. The Bible says men and women need each other. One husband or one wife. One man or one woman. That's it. Remove the problem entirely by not doing the whole male to female friend thing. And you never run into issues with that. You have to stay firm in your values and lead from the beginning. I'm devastated. I went no contact, but sent her an email with my thoughts, and then she admitted she betrayed me. Anyways, it's a diabolical story. Someone my age should know better, but as you can see, I have childhood trauma that still needs to be resolved. I'm seeing my psychologist to discuss it more and work out what actions I need to take. Most of the relationships over the last 20 years have followed the same pattern. My focus was on lust and just work out the rest of the stuff later, which is usually the fact that we aren't compatible and that I don't end it when I should, and waste years hoping to turn things around. I think mainly sunk cost fallacy in the fact that there is some feelings and attachment there. I find it very hard to pull the pin. My relationships arguably are getting worse over time, and they really should be getting better. I am now attracting women with BPD, MPD, as I think I have codependency issues. So here I am 4 months later feeling pretty devastated. It's hard to not take it personally, but watching some of your YouTube clips has made me realize that it's not my fault she behaved like this. I definitely could have managed the relationships 1,000 times better and been a much better leader and ender. I need to work on this and also date with a purpose. I never really had purpose apart from having sex with someone. Well, yeah. You want a wife and kids, that's your metric. When you approach women with that attitude, you're not wasting your time with women that want casual flings or they don't know what they want. You want a woman that's, yes, I date to marry. I want a husband. I want children. I'm a good woman. And then you observe to see if she's saying the truth. 20 years has basically been wasted marrying, and children scare me though. Maybe due to growing up the way I did. The irony is, I would love to be loved and to be in a healthy relationship. It's almost like I don't know how to lead and manage a relationship and be that consistent and present masculine presence that a feminine woman would be attracted to and submit to for life. Become righteous, get right with God. Anyways, thank you for all the insight. I wish I understood relationships like you do at such a young age. Well, taken me about 10 years now, but mastery comes from time and effort. That's what I teach. So that's the case study, guys. As you can see, very heavy, but there are many lessons to see from his experience. All of that could have been avoided with the correct information, asking quality questions, and trusting his gut instinct at the beginning when incompatibility came about. You can't expect to lead with your lust and neglect incompatibility and think you're going to build a lifelong commitment. It does not work that way. So I'm going to put a link. A video is going to pop up now so you can watch 10 questions you should ask before a first date so you can begin assessing compatibility, which is going to help for those of you who haven't seen it. If you have any interesting case studies you'd like to send me, like this one, email is in the description with any of the information you need. And with that said, hope you will have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families, and I'll see you all in the next one.